Okay, so I'm going to answer, getting a lot of questions lately, so I'm going to try to answer these people's questions here. Basically, how long does it take for me to be efficient at self-defense or martial arts? And this is a very loaded question, and there's a lot of variables with it, so just bear with me while I answer that question thoroughly. What it really comes down to is that you have to differentiate between sport martial art and what I term as reality-based self-defense, right? UFC, cage fighting, kickboxing, like judo and all that stuff. And I've done those things myself, right? That's not self-defense. Right? When you train in an environment where there's like refereeing and then there's rules and stuff like that, you are not training for self-defense. Okay, that's not to say that you couldn't defend yourself with some of those techniques or some of those moves, but you're not training for self-defense when you're doing those type of martial arts competitively for sport. You know, when you're in a bar fight or fight out in the street, there's variables. People can bite, eye gouge, pull knife. You're dealing with multiple attackers, weapons. Like, there's a lot more variables. There's concrete. You're not in a nice padded, matted cage, right? So that's one point. So another point is that there is something called nuero-plasticity. So how long does it take an individual to learn how to defend oneself? Depends on, well, your brain's ability to receive the information and adapt to it and use the information to a point where you can use it while under duress or under pressure. And the martial arts originally started using a discipline like a long time ago called Zen. And it's kind of funny when you look at Zen, it talks about, I'm going to really oversimplify this, but it talks about practicing something to the point where it becomes habitual, becomes habit. Now, we see today that this is the basis of neuroscience, right? Of neuroplasticity. Right? When you're, in terms of like dealing with martial art or sport, you've done something so much, it's habit. So what we're doing when we're actually training is that, yes, we're training our bodies, but we're also building our brain. So what is happening is that you will practice a technique, you get the basic movement of this technique, but you have to practice it till it becomes instinctual. You don't think about it, right? And this is where you're building a lot of powerful neural pathways, powerful synaptic function, right? Like all of a sudden, I get a punch thrown at me, right? I'm either going to like cover, right? I'm going to block, I'm going to parry, right? Whatever you're going to do, right? Your brain will just kind of go on autopilot because it's such a strong neural connection. That's how you're going to react, okay? And another interesting thing is that it takes regular training, right? So part of unlocking, from my understanding of neuroplasticity, means that you cannot grow your brain through passively viewing something, or you have to be actively involved. One, you have to pay attention to it. You have to do repetition, and you have to be diligent. You have to keep practicing, right? You also have to be, motivated as well, right? So that is very individual. That's very individual. Like how fast do you learn, right? Well, this guy might learn, whoever. One guy might learn really fast, another guy might learn really slow, another person might be in the middle, right? It's all going to depend on how much you train, how fast your brain can change itself and build itself, right? And kind of another thing is too is that are you learning good technique and do you have a good instructor? That's another important question. So generally speaking, I say that most people who get tangible self-defense or a tangible fighting skill, if you will, they get it within about, I would say, 6 to 8 months of training, like 3 times a week, 4 times a week. You know, they're coming to class and they're coming fairly religiously to class. That seems to be kind of a number, right? Now, just because you go to class doesn't mean that you're only getting your training in class. You should be training on your own. If you're learning how to strike and hit bag, right? Then you should, you know, or do like, you know, your kicks and punches, knees and elbows, whatever. You should be practicing that at the gym or at home on a heavy bag. If you're learning like jiu-jitsu or judo, right, or any type of grappling type of art, you should be thinking and meditating on your moves. You should be doing your rolls either like on mat, on grass, on concrete. You know, if you're really good, you should be at the very least meditating on your technique if you have no training partner, right? So I would say if you're training regularly, 6 to 8 months is generally average. I would say 4 if you're very exceptional and training a lot. But generally speaking, it's going to take about 6 to 8 months. If you have a good instructor of regular training to where you're going to get tangible fighting skill. Anyways, those are my thoughts on how long it would take you to become efficient at defending oneself when just taking up a martial art.